Beach starts, beach starts, beach starts. Boy, was it exciting to watch the sprint races from the EUROSUP today. And yeah, we haven't really talked about beach starts in a while. For some reason, it never really came up. In most races, somehow, some way, it doesn't come up. And then yesterday, I'm watching the live feed, enjoying, and then some people are complaining, oh, it's a running race, you know, and I'm like, what running race? You know, like beach starts have a long tradition in SUP racing. That's how it started. And people felt like people felt like the athletes are running too far. Well, you know, and looking at the conditions there is actually kind of interesting. And we're going to have to talk a little bit about the philosophy of beach starts and what happened in Hvide Sunday. But if you look at the beach starts during the first rounds in the morning, you saw how the low tide really made a difference. And yes, that's definitely something that needs to be discussed. The water was super shallow for quite a little bit. And then you saw, like, Donato Friends, I think, was the first one to discover that in the right lane, if you were to your right, there is a little sandbar that stays shallower for longer out. So that gave him quite a bit of a running advantage. And I think the next racer also discovered that as well. While in the middle there was a little bit of a deep part. So yes, of course, we can discuss here the beach start, what we do on low tide when the beach is so shallow for so far out. You see in the clips here that when it was high tide, the whole thing actually completely changed. Now the beach start was rather short and there was a little drop off and the guys were able to jump in the water right away. So that is certainly something that can be discussed. But as far as beach starts altogether goes, to me, this is one of the excitements in the sport. I think lane races, sure, it's also exciting to see the sprints in a lane and it's more cut and dry, but maybe this is a little bit of a philosophical question when we're asking ourselves, how far are we want to remove the athletes from any kind of environmental circumstances? How cut and dry does it have to be? I understand that in an Olympic scenario, it is all about the athlete. It's the athlete and the athlete alone and nothing else. Well, with that being said, then I think you might as well just paddle on simulators where everybody's exactly the same and the computer can then generate the results. Well, that's boring. Next step back, of course, yeah, sure, we can do a one design class. Everybody has exactly the same board. Everybody has to have exactly the same paddle. And God forbid there is a ripple on the water. Yes, also exciting, probably racing. But for me, I was glued to my seat with the beach start. There is always this variable. There's a little wave. It's in the ocean. There is a running start. There's a running finish. There are some variables in there that are unforeseeable, uncoachable, and untrainable. And the rider, the athlete, has to adapt to the imminent situation. And what is so wrong with that? We want to have a sport, or I like to have a sport where it's very spectator friendly and it has kind of these moments in it. I feel like if you take all the moments like this out and do strict, like, you know, nothing can be out of the ordinary, the water has to be still, there has to be a lane, same board and everything, then it's kind of like you're really taking out of a lot of the excitement, in my opinion. Yes, of course, then it's really about the athlete, and then it's no longer about everything else. So it's really like a philosophical question, and it can be right one way or the other. I don't really think there is a cut and dry kind of solution to this. It's just we as the community have to ask ourselves, where do we want to go with this sport? Is it going to be a canoe style lane racing only? And hey, I've seen this in Balaton there, and hey, it was exciting. It was pretty cool. There was lanes and there was a cut and dry start, but I feel like it didn't take away that much from the race, really. It was interesting, but and here is my bot now watching what's happening in Denmark. I'd say this excited me more. These races on the beach with the race beach running start, I found that more interesting because it gave us a little bit more of suspension. And we will have to see and compare when we are going to go to the ICF, I keep on mixing this up, when you go to the ICF in Poland, when we're going to be back to lane racing, and then there's one more World Championship coming up in Puerto Rico with the ISA, and then we're really gonna see what the difference is there. I, on the other hand, completely enjoy SUP racing regardless. I'm not an athlete. You guys are gonna have to decide it. It's not up to me, but those are my 5 cents. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.